Asantseba. Welcome to another episode.
Hi, Ama. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. How's your week been?
It's been crazy. I actually haven't had enough sleep. I don't know what's going on in Accra. There's more traffic everywhere from the motorway coming down through Spenters. So, yeah.
I guess it's like election season, isn't it? So it's a bit manic
Oh,
out there.
yay. True story.
How do I know about this? I'm not even in the country, and you're
I'm
there
not
in the
bothered.
country, and you're there
I'm not
forgetting.
even bothered about the elections, because it's almost as if we know who is going to win. So, I don't know.
Well, at least you guys get a holiday. I hear that like the day you guys are voting is like a holiday.
Yeah, the holiday was actually supposed to have been a Friday. Because usually it was a farmer's holiday, which Akufo-Addo moved to November. So we celebrated the Farmer's Day in November, but maintained the actual holiday in December, which is Friday. But I think because the election is on Monday, they decided to have that holiday on Monday instead.
Ah, right, okay.
Which I think is a bad idea, but it's fine.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm quite excited about today's episode because I've got two ladies I'm very familiar with.
Yeah,
So
I
I've managed to rope them in to be part of our podcast this week. On air today, we've got a good friend of mine. They're both actually good friends of mine, Sandra and Veronica.
Hello.
I've known them for a few years. And Sandra, we're going to get hello from you.
Hi.
Sorry, because you guys can't see us visually. She's smiling in the camera. Our topic today, Asantseba, do you wanna hit us with it?
No. I'll let you do that.
It's funny how I'm always doing the topics. It's like, okay,
I want you to say it as you've said it to them. I don't want to come in.
Oh, you don't want to put your foot in it?
Nope.
Yeah, she puts her foot in all the time. So yeah, she puts her foot. Okay, guys. So today's episode, we're going to be discussing something which we hear about a lot in society, and initially we just thinking it's a Ghanaian thing, but actually no, it isn't. It is more like a worldwide cultural thing, a society thing, and it's more about women being in their 30s. Women that have decided maybe to choose career or do other things with their lives, but society is saying that, hold on, you're in your 30s, you need to get married, you need to have a family, what's going, clock is ticking. So we're discussing that on today's episode and how that affects them, mentally, emotionally, physically, and yeah, we're going to hear their story and their truth. So just a little update. Both ladies have worked in the financial sector. Veronica is 36 and Sandra is 34. So if I can just fire with the first question, to Veronica. Veronica, did you was marriage and having a family something that, you always sort of wanted at an early age, or did you just reckon that, I'll concentrate on my career and get myself sorted before settling down?
Well, I would say that actually I used to go back and forth quite a lot on the idea of whether I even wanted to be married, number one.
Wow.
And if I did want to be married, whether I actually wanted to have children. And that's something I still waver on. Like, I think I've settled on the idea that I actually want to be married, but I'm still not sure about whether or not I want to have children. But that had nothing to do with me being ambitious about my career. I've always believed that I could have both, and I didn't have to start with one first and then do the other. Like, I didn't see why I couldn't excel in whatever career path I'd chosen and then not meet someone along the way and start a family with them. Like, I didn't.
Yeah.
So it was never an either or for me. It's just something that I've wanted, but with the children thing, I'm still not sure on.
Can I just be a bit nosy? So what about the children thing that you're not sure about? Because I know how, when I was pregnant with my little one, the excitement I felt from you, even when you see his photos, the excitement you get, and like from the sounds of the way you talk about how, you love kids' clothes and getting excited over kids, you'd be a great mom, I think.
You think so?
So, yeah. So I am just thinking, why, why?
Because I'm selfish.
Okay.
That's the bottom line. I think I'm selfish. And sometimes I wonder how good of a parent I would be because of that. I do enjoy children. I think they're really cute. I think they're beautiful. But can I live with one 24/7 and be responsible for its life?
Right.
I don't know. It's a very complicated feeling I have about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a part of me that deep down I think I do want them, because I feel like if I don't get the chance to have them and then I get too old to have them, I would feel quite sad about that. But then while I'm still relatively young enough to have them, I'm still kind of like, but I don't know.
Yeah. So yes, sure. But if you met the right person like tomorrow and they wanted kids,
I think I would probably be inclined to be swayed towards the idea, but I probably would still be a little bit unsure. I think if I do have a child, obviously once the child is there, I'd want the very best for them. I'd want to try to be a good mother for their sake.
mm-hmm.
But I don't know if there might still be a bit of resentment in the back of my mind regarding all the sacrifice you have to make.
Yeah.
To be a good parent. I don't know. But then I've had friends who are parents, have always wanted to be parents, and they've said, yes, they love their children with all their heart and they'll do anything for them, but they still have that resentment there. And maybe it's just a normal part of being a parent. I don't know, because I haven't. Yeah.
Okay, Sandra. So for you, obviously you're 34 now. You're Ghanaian, so I can actually say to you how I see it. Okay, let's get real to the Ghanaian thing. Veronica, I'm going to come down to you because I know the Caribbean culture is not far behind. So I know the aunties are going to be saying expiry date. What's going on, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because I think it's been I think I've had a bit of a weird journey to like this stage. I don't think anybody really expected me to be single at this stage. I say this because like the whole Ghanaian culture is such that like when you hit a certain age, like they just put lots of pressure on you just for absolutely no reason. So when I was like, I think I was 23,
mm-hmm.
Bless my mom, that's when she said, you now have permission to start dating.
You're like, I've been dating a long time.
Exactly. I just never said anything.
Yeah.
And I still didn't say anything that day. But then, on my 23rd birthday, she was like, oh, I just want you to know that now you can start dating and, you're able to get married and whatnot. So I was like, yeah, okay. I think that as I started getting to know guys, I think when I was younger, I always had this mentality that marriage is not easy, because I'd heard it from my parents so much. I'd heard it at church. I'd heard it everywhere that there was a married person. And literally, it kind of made me feel, I felt a little bit anxious about marriage. I felt anxious about who my choice of partner should and would be. And so I felt like I wasn't sensible enough to make a decision about who I wanted to marry until I was a bit later in my 20s. And I decided that quite early on. So to me, I personally never felt any way about not being married until I got to about 30, because for some reason in my head, that was always the date that I had given myself. And then coming up to that, I think when I was like 26, I had a lot of pressure from my family. They went to find this guy, God bless him. And I just did not care for his spirit at all whatsoever. I didn't want to know him, seriously. And they were really, really pressurizing me. They were like, oh, you're getting old now, like you have to settle down. And he was good by their standards, but I had absolutely nothing in common with him. This guy did not mind at all. And like, I think at that point, that's when I really realized like the pressure is real, like, because I really felt a lot of pressure to just go for someone that I didn't like, I had nothing in common with, but was a good guy, good in my parents' eyes. And I think for me personally, that's always been the problem. If I like someone, my parents don't like that person. And if they like that person, if they like someone, I don't like that person. I think that's kind of been a bit of an issue for me.
So how would you say, for Veronica, like, have you received any pressures from parents, family, like your community in terms of, what's going on? Because I feel like, putting culture aside, I feel like the older generation tends to forget that it is hard nowadays to meet people, and back in their day, it was so much easier because everyone was socializing. Now, women have to work just as hard as men, or if not, twice as hard as men. So we ain't got time to be, So, Asantseba, what do you reckon? We ain't got time to be socializing and, no one's got time for that. So I think the older generation forget how hard it is to actually go out there and meet someone in the first place. Because I know that you're quite religious, aren't you? You're very religious. Veronica is like my Bible person. If I need some quotes, right? She'll be my Bible person. I'll be like, okay, Veronica, where in the Bible does it say this? If I need to find some quotes at someone, because my husband knows the Bible, so when he comes at me with X, Y, and Z, I'm like, Veronica, like, where does it say the Bible? Because I need to come back at him with something. But yeah, how, what does your church say about this? And how about your family and your community? How are they receiving you being single at this age?
I think I'm in a slightly unique position from most other, I guess, people of Caribbean descent or Caribbean background. I haven't really had the pressure inside my house, like as in parents. There has been the odd comment from my mum, but it's not, I don't feel like it's pressure in the same way that Sandra described. I would say, though, from people in the wider family and the wider community, yes, there has been pressure. So my great aunt, for example, and my late grandmother used to say to me, "Oh, you're waiting for us to die before you get married."
Wow, that's pressure in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Say that to you,
So there would be comments like that. The church that I grew up in, which I'm not in anymore, I'm in a different church, which is a different cultural mix altogether. So I wouldn't refer to that as a reference for Caribbean like mentality when it comes to marriage and single. But like the Caribbean church that I was in, yes, I would say there's a lot of pressure, especially from the pastor. He would, in the pulpit, he would say things like, "We've got to pray for our daughters that they'll get married."
What?
Yeah.
Do you know?
It was, we need to pray for our sons. It was never, let's pray for our
So it was never, let's pray for the men. It was always, let's pray for
let's pray for the daughters.
Oh, wow.
They're sitting in church single.
You're kidding.
Okay, Veronica, if I may ask this, I'm sure you have a lot of people, a lot of men coming your way, a lot of suitors are coming to you, approaching you and all that. What has been your reaction? What has been your response towards them? What do you tell them? How do you get them off you? I'm sure, and let me put all this together so you can, answer all of them. So you've been in relationships before. No, how did it go?
No, I haven't. I haven't been in a relationship before.
Veronica's a good Christian child, I'm telling you. She's like...
You haven't been in a relationship before?
No, I've never been in a relationship before. And actually, it's not even... I wouldn't even say it's 100% because of my Christianity. I don't know if it's just me, but I don't really get approached by guys at all.
Okay.
I can count the number of guys up until
do you put this thing across where it says you don't come towards me, don't come to me, don't approach me? Are you friendly? I just want to understand, how is your relationship with men like, even if they're not your partners, just friendship? How was it been like?
I don't really have a lot of male friends.
The ones you have, how do you relate to them?
I think I get along quite well with them.
You haven't seen a man that you like?
I've seen loads of men that I like.
And you haven't expressed your likeness towards them? You haven't done that? You haven't told them? I have. And what has been their response?
Basically, no.
But you know what, V? I always have this conversation with you. I feel like, are you sure that, you know how men give signals? I'm the worst signal reader in the world. Mm-hmm. Like, guys could be like giving signals and I'll just read this. Oh, you're just my friend. They're just my friends. Are you sure that you're just like me, like a really bad signal reader? Like, you've seen guys that have been so interested, but obviously they're nervous to come out and say, I like you, but they're giving you little hints. I
am willing to accept that might be the case. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I wouldn't say that I've always been very comfortable interacting with guys because I just haven't had a lot of contact with them. As soon as I got to secondary school age, I was put in a girls' school, and I was told that my focus was my education and not to look at boys. And then when I got to around 18 and I started university, that was when I got heavily into church and stuff. And it was all very much like, well, if the guy is not a Christian and you're not interacting with him in a way that's deemed holy and righteous, then keep away from
him. Yeah.
So there was a bit of that. And then when I got older, I think because of the church culture that I was in, it was always assumed that a guy at church will see me one day and decide I like her, and then he might try to like start courting me, and then we would be married. There was never a culture of dating and going out and dating people. And now that I've gone away from that myself for it's been about 7 or 8 years now. I've gone away from that. But even in that 7 or 8 year period, nothing has really changed for me. And it's not because I'm not outgoing. It's not because I'm afraid to talk to men. And I don't think I give off a vibe that says stay away. Maybe I do, and maybe I'm not conscious of it. But it just hasn't happened for me, unfortunately. There've been a couple of occasions where I've been talking to a guy, and it seems like we like each other, and for whatever reason, it just fizzles into nothing.
Okay, would you say that your line of conversation also is a turn off? So. I mean, I've been listening, and I feel like your upbringing, is great. Every family has a way of doing their own thing, and then as we grow, we choose to either stay in it or get out of it. Every parent would appreciate. I mean, they would love their kids to stay on, not have any, boyfriends, be with the first guy they meet, all that. Your lifestyle is a perfect thing for every parent. They would want that. Not being with a man before.
Have the perfect lifestyle for every parent. Really.
Some of us, I'm sure, if our mothers and our fathers should get into our lives, they will disown us. But you've done quite great for yourself.
Asantseba, speak for yourself, innit?
No, I'm saying some of us. I haven't said anything. Some of us could be just me, probably. But I'm finding a bit. I'm trying to understand, because I'm trying to understand.
Because you're an attractive lady.
Yeah, because I'm exactly. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, you're an attractive.
So I'm wondering what's going on. Like, is it your line of conversation? You're not able to keep up with the conversation. You don't know what to talk about. Do you discuss church? What do you talk about with these guys?
I don't think, to be honest, I don't even think I'm that churchy of a person anymore. If anything, I shy away from talking too much about church. And that's not to say that it's no longer a part of my life or anything like that. But I appreciate that that can't be the only thing you bring to the table is I'm a Christian, I'm a good girl, church. Like, there's got to be more to you than that, especially in a relationship, because at the end of the day, a relationship between yourself and a man or whoever there is a spiritual element to it, but a lot of it is very earthly. And it's something that is for here when we're on earth, and it ends once you die. So you can't be just church. Like, there has to be balance. So I don't personally feel that I give off a vibe like, don't look at me because that's not holy or anything like that. But I don't know. I've spent a lot of time trying to analyze myself and to analyze my past experiences, limited as they were, with guys, and I haven't figured it out.
Do you like? I'm gonna pick up a bit from what you said about the church. Looking back at things, do you hold like a slight resentment at, like, not church in general, but maybe the church you went to at the time? I mean, if the pastor's saying, pray for our daughters, are not married. like, do you hold some sort of resentment to them as to how your relationship with men has turned out? Do you reckon that they've sort of got a lot to answer for in that respect?
I think it's a mix of things, but I would say that church is a factor, yes.
Yeah. Goodness me. And you know, the funny thing is, the churches, they're the worst ones with the guys and the pastors. Do you not think so, Asantseba? They're like the worst.
Yeah, I mean, that is why I'm I don't know, I'm just 30 and you are 36, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to understand, like, am I doing everything wrong now? Because speaking to you, I feel like I'm in front of God right now, and I'm being like, look into the book of life and then see what you've done with your life.
Oh no!
That's how bad I feel now. I'm like, that's why I've been quiet. I've been so quiet. I'm like, what? And now you got me doing it, like, body count already. I'm like, what? What have I been doing with my life? Like, she is 36 and she doesn't even know anybody. All right, Sandra. You know what? I can't even get into Veronica's case. That's a special case. Now, let me ask you this: Have you been in a relationship before?
Yeah, I have.
Listen, okay. Don't let Sandra keep it quiet for you.
Okay. You have, okay. So you're 34. The men you've been with, have they spoken about marriage? Have they spoken about future with you? What happened? What did you miss along the line? What got you not? Because as Ama said, you have Ghanaian parents. And
that's right.
I have I stay in Ghana. I'm Ghanaian. I have a Ghanaian mother, a typical Ghanaian mother, who would literally, if a man comes to look for you and the man is one, good looking, two, looks like he can take care of you. Three, with my character, they think I need somebody who is more quiet and more patient. The more they see that with a person, she would hang over you to marry that person. Like she can literally call you on your birthday whilst people are calling you and wishing that you get rich and get money and get stuff. She will call you and speak to you about marriage on phone. That is how bad it is. Now, how have you been able to get on? I mean, you've been in relationships. I'm not saying all relationships must lead to marriage, but I am sure that there are men that when you're with, they want to marry you. Have you met such? What happened?
I have. And to be honest with you, I think that's what I kind of said in summary about either I like someone and my family don't like the person, or my family like a person and I don't like him. And then obviously coming from, like, my mom is a typical fanty, and we do this whole matrilineal thing. She's already claimed me as a fanty instead of as a gan. It's fine, my dad doesn't say anything about it anymore. So like that's how my mom is like literally she has to give her approval, and her approval is like the final seal. And so essentially it just sometimes can be a bit of a clash of the titans. Like if I'm strongly in favor of being with a particular person and she's opposing it, it can just be a never ending like contention. And I found myself in that position definitely more than once. And so I think that there's also this part of me where I think I love very deeply. So if I fall in love with someone and my mum doesn't fall in love with that person, I just feel a bit like that's her problem. And that's how I've kind of operated it. Like she just needs to come around because she can't pick for me essentially. But then she doesn't hold that view. And then as well, especially Veronica, like, when you come from a very typical, like, I'm going to say African home, because I think that is generally like an African thing. And some homes are a bit more like, up to date than others. But like when you're getting married, for example, your dowry is accepted by your family. And that's a huge part of any relationship to be recognized. It needs to be done. You cannot represent yourself. You can't go and hire actors to come and represent you. Like your parents need to be on board with your relationship. Unless you're coming to say that you're an orphan, then there's really no reason why you should be giving yourself away. And the family as well, the groom's side, it's number one, offensive to them. That why are you rejecting their son? And number two, they also won't want you because your family don't want them. You know, it's quite a big deal. So like, I have personally had that experience and I have found that it's a very, very difficult situation, to be honest with you. And that's a huge part of really why I've gotten to this stage. Whilst I say this, my mom, she wants the very best, but maybe sometimes, I don't know, what she thinks is the very best might not necessarily exist, or if it does, I may not like that very best. Like, she might find me a doctor who is absolutely so dry and has no sense of humor, has never, honestly, at uni, he only stayed in his dorm the whole time. He's just never done anything of interest. And that's the type of person that she thinks is awesome. Like, someone who, next to Jesus, he stands. Like, that's the type of person that she wants me to be with.
You mean somebody who is related to Veronica? I see that.
Do you know what, Veronica?
I don't see myself as being that churchy. Yes, I identify as a Christian. I try to live my life according to Christian values, but I'm not like fanatical.
Yeah, I wouldn't say.
But I mean,
you're fanatical.
Comparing you to me, listen here. I would say you're a crusade. You know,
Veronica, as I just got her rosary out, praying her rosary, asking Hail Mary for forgiveness. Because you need forgiveness. Like, your day, I can see you. I can imagine you with your rosary, like, right there, like, saying your Hail Marys and asking for forgiveness.
Okay, so I mean,
do you know, I think it's a very big example. I have the opinion that in the UK, and you know, I've been told a few times that actually it's not necessarily easier in another country, mostly Ghana, but I find that in the UK it's more difficult to meet someone that you like. Nowadays, there's certain key values, like chivalry is gone, like, completely. Now guys want to split bills with you from day one. They don't want to show you that they've got the ability to provide, or the heart to provide, or the mind to provide for you. Apart from that, meeting someone that you've got things in common with is not necessarily that easy. Meeting someone sometimes who even understands you or shares some values with you can be really difficult. Good character is hard to come by. I'm not trying to dish dirt on all men out there, but I don't really see that there are a great deal of good suitors out there. And so I think that you will find that these days it's not uncommon to meet a woman in her 30s in any country, whether religious, whether not religious, who is single. It's now more common. And I think the majority of us are not single by choice. We're single because, unfortunately, we're not meeting the type of people that we would like to spend our lives with.
Sandra, let me even make it so amazing. Those that you end up finding with good character, they're married.
Yeah.
I don't know that one. No.
No. I'm just saying, those that you meet them, you interact with them, and then you feel like, decent people. Oh, this person is genuinely, a good person. The person has a good heart. The way they talk. And I don't know what you've experienced, but I experience that a lot. Like, the men I meet, I interact with, I work with. I mean, I step out, I meet them. You talk to them, and you feel like, oh, you guys have, some sort of how do you call it? Some level of understanding. You have certain things in common. You perceive life in a certain way together, and all that. And they raise their hand, and you're like, man, you should have said this from the beginning that you're married, not to waste my time talking to you. Like, it's just crazy. Or maybe, I don't know, it's just, I don't know. But I feel like we women, like in the 30s lately, all over, I think marriage is not a big deal anymore. I think it's no longer a thing.
So.
They've even set up groups for single mothers and single parenting in Ghana. Like, most of the celebrities they choose to be single parents. They have babies and then they take care of their babies and they're good. It's more like people are staying together. I know a bunch of people staying together. They're not married, but they have a child and take care of the baby together. They stay in the same house. They haven't gone through the marriage procedures and all of it. And if you speak to them, what they tell you is that, Asantseba, the moment you make this official, there are troubles, and we lose interest in each other. And that is when the man finds every reason to go and cheat.
But do you know what? This
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, it baffles me because I'm not saying that I'm not an advocate here. I know I'm married. I'm not an advocate for marriage, saying, oh my gosh, like, you know, everyone should get married. But marriage, I believe, is a beautiful institution if it works for you.
It is.
Right. If it works
for you. Yeah.
I don't understand when people say that as soon as we put a label on it or as soon as we sign that paper, it goes left. I don't get that because whether you're living together, right, with that person, you're in a union, you're in some kind of union. So being married and wearing a ring does not change anything. Like, I just do not understand how some men can use that as an excuse and saying, oh yeah, as soon as we sign that paper and I've got that ring on my finger, things go left. How are they going left? Then if they've got issues in your relationship, then you should have issues regardless whether you're married or you're not married.
You know,
non-committal
I
to
think
the
that
relationship.
before they get married, there are issues. Okay? But they fail to address it. And they believe that these people will change with time. Okay? You know, unfortunately, in the African society, we women are desperate. The moment you find a man, he's good. Like what Sandra said, good men are hard to come by lately. So if you are lucky and by divine intervention, you meet somebody and you feel like, oh my goodness, even if the person is not all that you wished for in your bucket list or whatever it is, and they come up as 20% of it or 30% of it, you find a way of psychologically like creating that thing within you that, oh, the rest will fall in place with time. You get it?
Yeah, I get that.
And then you try to come up with a whole marriage situation. Now, the reason it goes, south or it goes left when they are married is that after marriage, they lose themselves. They are settled, So all these characters that they've been working so hard to hide, just to be the perfect man for you or the perfect woman for you,
it's starting to come out.
Exactly. If it's not them, it starts to come out. And then the regret sets in and all that bit. And the men, they can't leave the marriage. Well, some men, mostly men do not want to leave. Then they start cheating. And if you ask them, they'll tell you,
people getting married for the wrong reasons and society putting pressure.
So before they marry, they feel like they are getting married.
You have to be quite honest when you're courting someone.
Yeah, my friend
was like, you have to be yourself.
Yeah.
They can't be. You ask them, like on Thursday, we're having a conference call. We're all in our office, but the internet went off from the other side where the other person is. So most of the managers were on the conference call. We started to have a conversation, and I'm the youngest, and I am the naughtiest of all. So I was like, I mentioned somebody's name. I'm like, why did you even get married to start with? So I asked them, why did you get married? I said, I was old, yeah. And I was ready to get married, and I got married. I was like, what?
Oh my goodness.
And I asked the other person, you tried to get married? I said, at that time, I felt that was the right thing for me to do. I'm like, then now, it's a challenge. Now, if I'm given the same opportunity, I don't think I'll go feed you one again. I'm like, what? I asked the next person, you too, why did you get married? I said, oh, Charlie, not the woman, your body fine. Like, the wife's body was nice. What? Okay.
But then these are men just don't want to get involved in.
I don't know. I went to a wedding yesterday.
These are not good guys though. Like, it's period. Crazy. These are the type of guys I'm talking about.
I tell you. Even yesterday, I attended a wedding in the evening. The guy they asked the guy to give a toast. Yeah, you know how they do this thing, a toast with how you met your wife and all that. This guy boldly got up at the wedding reception last night and said he met the wife by the roadside and they gave her a lift. And what got her attention was the body. Hey, the first day I saw my wife, the body was good, the shape and all that. Oh, now Pody is not even there as he used to. I was so embarrassed. Last
but
week.
These are the men like Sandra saying. These are the men that you just run away from because they're not good. It's hard. That just shows the men. Good men are hard to find by.
Why are we looking to
it's
like
me
that for marriage?
marrying this man, and he said this evening. As soon as we're done, I'll give you your ring. Last week, Saturday. They
I
asked
don't even
us,
have to finish your sentence. I'll give it back to you already.
I tell you, last Saturday,
Seriously, I'll
they
throw it
asked,
at you.
are you for real? In front of everybody, you go like, you met me and you liked my body and that was what got your attention and what. You didn't even talk about my character, nothing. Last week, Saturday, a wedding again. They asked this young man, why you decide to marry this woman of all the women. Do you know what she said? Do you know what he said? Because when my mom died, she was there for me. She followed me all the way to Sinyani, and Sinyani is very far from Accra. And then, when my father also died, she was there for me, and she also followed me all the way there. And I said, who doesn't
Not that
want
I love her. She's an amazing woman.
That broke my heart. I was like, what's happening?
What was the look on the bride's face? Was she
she was smiling. She was kissing the guy, and she was excited. Like she feels like she's been there. But now this guy sees you as a mother, not
how. If I may ask, how old were the couple?
Okay, so the gentleman is 35. The lady is 33. So they are not kids.
It makes me wonder: is this the whole old age Ghanaian society putting pressure on them?
Yes.
And they just
I doubt it.
To the next
I just
person.
think it's stupidity. No offense. Like honestly, that's what I think it is. No, because
Sandra is on fire.
I do. Like honestly, I honestly feel like it's one of those things that if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Like honestly, a guy telling you that he wants to marry you and he doesn't even know why he wants to marry you. It's the same reason that he'll get up one day and say, I don't want to be with you. I met you and I like to figure, well, when she's 80, that's not how, not even when she's 80, but like it can happen at any time. Like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah. What if she just gained a few pounds? That's it.
Yeah. A few kgs, like whatever she gains, right?
No, even
like,
now,
her figure's
at
not
the
looking
reception
right.
last night, he mentioned it. He said the body is not as before because the lady is not looking all sexy. Looking at her yesterday,
things like that is superficial. Like another woman can have a better figure than you at any point in time, and what will happen?
He's gonna go.
If I was the bride in that wedding and my new husband stand up beside me and said, oh, I saw her body and that's what I liked. He's done. He's done. Let's not even bother to consummate. Let's not even bother. Let's not.
Yeah.
We're not going home tonight.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm going home. I don't know where you're going.
Yeah. We're not going home together.
Sandra, I'm going home. But do you know what? Do you know what scares me though? I do think, I don't know, Veronica, if you can relate to this. Maybe you may have some stories to share with us in terms of the Caribbean culture. But I find that in the African culture, should I say more the Ghanaian culture, I feel like, the older generation, they don't help. It's because of them that women end up with men like this. Because there's the whole thing, you need to get married. When I was your age, I was already married and I'm pregnant with you, I've had 10 kids already. If you get, no man's going to want you. You can go to all the school in the world, but it's not the same as, having a husband. You can be the most educated woman, but you're just going to go to your bed that night lonely, and marriage defines you. It defines who you are as a woman. Ghanaian parents, right, will spend the most, or every single penny they have to educate their daughters, right, to put them to school, to give them the best of education. Why do you then backtrack and then go, marriage is what defines you? So forget the education I've given you, forget the power I've given you as a woman, which is just, your self-worth, your education, which no one can take from you, which which can open so many doors for you. Forget that I was telling you it's all about education when you were a child. Now I'm telling you that marriage defines you as a woman.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Do you think the focus on spending so much money on educating your daughter is not so much for your daughter, it's more about pride and yourself? And
100%.
And being able to show other people, look what I've done for my children.
Yeah.
Look at the wealth I have. Look what I've invested in my children. It's not really about the child.
But do you not want to build on that status? Because for me, I find that if you're constantly saying that, you need a man, you need a man by your side, you need a man to do this for you, you need to become a wife, you need to become a mother by this age, you need to do this, you need to do that. it's also almost as if you're giving with one hand and taking away with the other.
But do you not feel that that's something to do with the mentality, which is very patriarchal as well? It's patriarchal, and it's a bit, I wouldn't necessarily say misogynistic, but it's definitely sexist. I suppose maybe the idea is that, yes, we can educate you, but because you're a woman, your place is still in the home as a wife. Yeah.
100%.
But do you know, I just want to say something about some of what you said in your question. I actually don't necessarily agree, Yvonne, that this is what the parents are saying. I feel that they want you to be successful and to have the career and have the good life and be, you know, the independent woman to some extent. But they still see the value in marriage in terms of security for their daughter. And I think that traditionally, and I'm talking about like historically, dating far back, marriage was something that was meant to settle a female and to bring her security so that her family wouldn't have to worry about her. And I think even now, even if you were extremely, like, you know, a high flyer, very financially stable, very financially sound, your family would still want someone for you. And I don't think it's because you know, they feel that your place is in the home as well necessarily. I think that it's always been thought of that we must protect our daughters, or we must make sure that our daughters are secure. We must make sure that our daughters are, do you get what I mean? There's someone else being responsible for our daughter. Now she's kind of left her father's nest or whatever. And I think that's always been like a huge part in, well, all the aunties that I know of, like, it's quite a big deal for them. Like, you know, you're kind of like this unguarded, like, castle. Like, we need to get you protected. And but men aren't living to that standard anymore. They don't even want to be providers. They want you to pay your half of everything.
Sandra, you've got a complete gripe about that. They want you to be paying your half of the bill.
But it's a big deal, because even from a Christian perspective, and this is one, I know you want to come up with a Bible verse, but
I love this
verse that has always stuck with me, that relates exactly to that, about men not coming up to scratch when it comes to being the husband that they ought to be, or the life partner that they ought to be.
Yeah.
I think it is in Ephesians. I could be wrong. It's in the New Testament. I'll just say that. There's a verse that says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church." What did Christ do for the church? He died. So that's a very high standard.
But hold on. So what do you say to the guys that are listening out there? Because I do know that, I know the male listeners, I know I'll be getting like an ear bashing about this when this episode goes out. So they would say, what would you say? So us ladies are all sat here saying, you know, guys are not the way they used to be. They're not providers anymore. But hold on, we all want to be independent women. We want to go out there and get our paychecks. We want to go out there, you know, and fend for ourselves, you know, and be our own person in our own rights. We don't want to be living in any man's shadow. But how do we?
Not every woman wants that, by the way.
Okay, but so okay. So for the women that want that, do they have a leg to then stand on to say, I want you to be paying the bill when we go out to eat. I want you to be willing to die for me.
Never agree with that.
Because I was having this exact conversation literally like half an hour before joining this podcast with one of my friends. I think it depends. I think you can't. Women as a whole, we're not a monolith. We're all different. We all come from different cultural backgrounds. We all come from different socio-economical backgrounds. We all come from different ethnicities, all of that. And we all want different things in relationships because we're all unique and different people.
Yes.
There are some people who believe in having a 50-50 split when it comes to finance. We share everything. We're both equal in terms of our career and how much we contribute fiscally or financially to the household. Some people would put the non-monetary contribution on the same level as the monetary contribution. So, for example, if you have a man who says, I'm going to take care of everything financially, I'm going to pay all the bills, I'm going to pay the mortgage, I'll look after you. As a woman, that doesn't mean you sit there and fold your hands. It means you have to contribute, but in other ways. And that's just as valuable to the relationship, in my view. I mean, I'm speaking as someone who's never been in a relationship, but that's to me is just as valuable as the man's contribution.
If not more valuable, you're going to carry a child for 9 months per child, go through pregnancy.
Let me give you an example. Yeah. So a lady quits her job because the husband. I want to give you this example because sometimes women also take advantage of the men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when Sandra is saying that they are not even trying to provide and they want to split the bills with you and all that.
Mm-hmm.
There's those married couples, yeah. The guy gives the lady housekeeping money. You know, the olden times how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you money to cook, to do everything. The lady is working, gets the salary. Her salary doesn't come into the family in any way. She doesn't use her money to cook or do whatever, nothing. At the end of the month, the man goes like, what do you do with your money? That she doesn't know. It goes off. Fine. Now, the lady goes ahead to quit her job with all kinds of excuses just to stay home. And the man is like, Asantseba, I feel it's because of the money I give her. Now, the money he gives her is more than her salary at the end of the month. So she feels like, why do I go to work if my husband gives me this money and it's even more than the salary? You get it? So there are men out there who would do just about anything for their women, but they get cheated on or taken advantage of. Yeah. So these things with time have taught men lessons. Sandra, you said men want to split what and do all that.
Mm-hmm.
I think from the beginning of every relationship, you lay your cards on the table. Okay, right. You sit and you talk, and you come to an agreement. Not like an agreement, but you discuss a bunch of things, so you're able to decide on things and know what to do at which point and all that. You get it. So if I want to date Kwame knows I'm working. I know Kwame is working. I mean, from the onset, I'm not sure Kwame is going to come and tell me how much he earns because we are not sure where this relationship is going. Okay. But hanging out with this person, grabbing lunch, I mean, the responsiveness of the person, how the person makes an effort to get things for you, how there are some of them, they will do it from the beginning and later they will stop. They do it from the beginning because they want your attention or they want to go to bed with you. Once that is done, it's done. They go back to how they used to be. But I mean, we are all grown women now. We've gone through some experiences. We know that when men come like that, we know you can pick from it what they want, how they are coming on and all that. I don't think men will just jump out from the beginning and want to split everything with you, expect to split everything with you. What if I'm not working? Do you still want me to split with you?
You need to
even
come
if
to
I'm
the
not
UK.
working?
You will meet them. No, like honestly, you need to come to the UK. Like Ghana is so different. I'm not going to lie to you. Ghanaian guys have been brought up to know that they have to look after their wife.
Yes, because our culture here is now that we are beginning to revolve, now that women are becoming independent, they're understanding what it means for a woman to be independent, And there are relationships that the men even get upset. I'm not going to lie to you. At work, there are people that get upset, like, they want to feel manly, to take care of you, to do things for you. So when they come at you and then you go like, no, thank you, I have this, I have that, they get intimidated. So they leave. They feel like they can't even approach you, because they feel like you're full of yourself. What do you need a man for? That's what they say. You have everything. What do you need a man for? You even end up disrespecting them.
But then that's just a bit, for me, that's just a weak argument, because I can talk for personal experience. Obviously, when I met my husband, I'm very independent in that respect, because I feel like it's very important for a man to understand that with you or without you, I can hold my own, Obviously, it's important for the man to respect the woman. The woman, she's not something that could be bought. So, okay, you want to look after her. She's not that kind of woman. So you could use your money, buy gifts for her, surprise her. Don't say that, okay, not every woman wants to be, handed out cash at the end of each month and by a man and be like, take this. Some women may find that offensive. I'm not saying I'm one of them. If you're going to give me cash, it's all good.
Ama,
give me cash.
From the beginning, you sit. So you talk things through, okay? You let each other, you let your man know what offends you, what you like. Some women do not like you to give them money. They feel disrespected, like you're saying. But they'd rather you gift them, you buy things for them. You're able to tell what they need and you do it for them, okay?
Right.
So I think it's just individual preference and how people are, brought up, sort of.
Exactly, 100%. But if I could just touch on what Sandra was saying before, Sandra, like if you can give some examples as to sort of men that you've dated in the UK, in London, that you're like, oh my goodness, like the contrast is huge. Because I know that you dated both guys from London and you dated guys from Ghana as well. So to you, what are the pros and cons and, the differences?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I can only speak for myself. So I'm not speaking for all the Ghanaian diaspora, but I'm speaking for most of them. I find
that was one shady cough there.
Most of them. I find personally the difference between a British guy, as in a Ghanaian guy who was born and raised in the UK, or a Ghanaian guy who's been in the UK for too long and now has forgotten that he actually was born and raised in Ghana, is that they kind of forfeit the whole I'm a man, I'm responsible for my family, I'm supposed to, the way that they're supposed to be with a woman. Does that make sense? That's why initially I said chivalry is dead, because I truly find that to be the case. I'm not just saying it because this is what people say. Truly, for you to meet that, a guy who is able to put you ahead of himself, I think is quite hard in this country. I've personally observed that a good guy from Ghana, so I'm not saying any old rascal from the street or from the local chop bar, but I'm talking about a decent, good guy, well brought up, with good values, in a good home, from a good family. The type of things that he is willing to do for you, that he expects to do for you, as someone, as his female half, is far beyond what any British guy is ever willing to do for you. And one big example of this is, now for a long time I just completely dismissed British Ghanaian guys as no offense to them, God bless you all, but I dismissed them as they're just not for me. That's what my experience says. And I decided to there was just one guy from my church, believe it or not, who last Christmas was let's go on a date. So I was like, all right, well, he has a Ghanaian accent, so maybe he's Ghanaian enough. I'll go on a date with him. I'll go on a date with him then. So we went on a date. Now, the funny thing is, even the choice of the thing is, I'm not high maintenance. You guys already know me. And I'm quite simple. I like what I like, but I'm not someone who needs to have designer goods and all that stuff. I'm actually quite down to earth. But then I would never go on a date and suggest let's go somewhere really expensive. I'd go somewhere I would normally go, or I'd go with any of you girls, which is somewhere that I can afford to pay. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. And so, but places like Nando's or McDonald's or KFC wouldn't cross my mind for a date. I just don't really think it's, So, and if a guy really didn't have money and felt like I really want to pay, so I have to take you somewhere that is in my budget, I would get that. But the thing is, I would have to know that for me to not feel offended at the suggestion. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. And most of the time you wouldn't get to know that. So this guy said, let's go to Nando's, which is, maybe it's papaya, which is can we explain what's papaya version in the UK, Yvonne?
Okay.
Nando's,
Nando's is basically, there's a place in Ghana called Papaya, and it's just the same. They have rice, chicken, whatever it is, but it's not a plush place, Veronica.
Well, but it's nice though. I like it. I like their chicken.
It's a nice place, but you wouldn't necessarily go there.
I wouldn't go there. No, I would even sit to eat. I'll pick and go home.
Yes, exactly.
I need to lift my standards. I'm sitting there thinking, if somebody asked me out and we're going Nando's, I'd be like, cool, let's go.
No,
Veronica, that's where you're going wrong. This is
date.
where you are going wrong.
Yeah, that's
right?
not a date.
This is where you're going wrong.
Seriously, that's not. You can even just get takeaway and go home. It's not like a date place. Like, you know, a date, you're making an effort, you're leaving your house, you're trying to look nice, like you expect to go and sit somewhere, like you know, have a nice hearty meal. Yes, exactly. And that's what you're expecting, and a nice decent conversation. And the thing is, don't forget, this man as well was 36, so he's worked for many years, and like I didn't.
She's like, he's worked for many years. Are you in his pocket?
How do you know he's worked for many years?
I know, because I had conversations with him before I agreed to go out with him. He was
okay,
not
and so
unemployed.
you assume that because he's worked for so many years, he has money enough to take you.
I know that he could have taken me somewhere else than Nando's. Okay. That's for sure.
Okay.
But then, anyway, this is where he said he wanted to go. I was already getting suspicious. I'm not going to lie. I know Nando's is £12 a person a pop. Like, it shouldn't really cost you more than that. Yeah. And to be honest with you, that's quite cheap for like eating out in the UK, because we can go out and spend more than £30 each on a meal, like at any time. So that to me was quite cheap. But anyway, I didn't complain. I didn't say anything because I didn't know his pocket. So we went. And then what I found interesting is just because he bought me chicken wings, he felt entitled that he should try and hold my hand. He should try and kiss me on the mouth. And that really upset my spirit. I just thought, like, what is this? Like, this is... Why would you do it on a first date?
Yeah.
But to my horror, the thing that actually really disgusted me about this whole thing is after this date, I did kind of ghost him a bit because I just thought he wasn't right for me. Not even because we went to Nando's, but just the whole conversation, the whole vibe. So I just thought, maybe not. Okay. But then later on, he came back. He was quite insistent. Like, you know, maybe I didn't come across the right way the first time. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But funny enough, he said he wanted to go to a museum for the next outing.
But the museum is free.
I'll be
some of the free one.
It is free. But do you know what, Yvonne? That's not even what got me thinking. It's the fact that I was like, you know, I'm not really a museum person. Like, I'll go, but it was winter. And for me to drag myself into central London from where I live to go to a museum, it's not really my thing. But I said, okay, if you want to go, I'll come with you. Why don't we get something to eat after? Yeah, I'm a foodie, so if you want me to come out of my house, that's the way that you can really get me to come.
Food.
I said that to him. He was like, okay, cool. The next day he said to me, by the way, when we meet, we're both paying for our own food. Is that okay?
So hang on a second. He's asking you out. He's asking for your time.
No, but technically, V. No. Technically, V, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. You guys can shoot me down. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Technically, V, he didn't ask her for a dinner date. He asked her for a museum date. I'm playing devil's advocate here because I know the men are going to shoot me if I don't say this. He invited you, right, for a date, right, a night at the museum, right? You're the one that suggested food, okay?
People go out for this length of time and not eat.
Yeah. Honestly, I that's even a problem for me because I think a normal guy should think that, babe, are you hungry?
Was it fasting season at church?
It wasn't fasting season. And if it's fasting season, you shouldn't be taking me on a date.
Expecting you to bring packed lunch then?
Yeah, maybe he thought I'd bring him sandwiches.
Like, I'm confused.
Do you know what bothered me? I'm actually the type of lady who I'm happy to treat my man like I really am. And we've all worked together. So we all receive an income at the end of the month. And I hadn't been fired. I wasn't unemployed. I was perfectly capable of picking up the bill. But the thing is, he anticipated that if we go out, he may not be able to take me to Nando's again. And so he wants to make it clear before the outing that I would have to pay at least for what I ate. And that bothered me. I felt like if he doesn't have money, I'll understand that one. Okay, that maybe he can't afford it, but also I could pay for it. I understand that for a man, it's going to be difficult for you to say, oh, you know, I don't really have much money at the moment or whatever. So actually, when he said that, I said to him, okay, that's fine. Then I waited for 2 days to pass. Then I asked him, like, okay, so when you said that when we meet, going forward, I will pay for 50% or at least what I eat. He said going forward. He didn't say the next day. Why did you say that? Like, is it maybe, are things tight financially, or like is it the time of the month, or like I'm just wondering. Then he came out and said, I feel like men are always taken advantage of by women. So that's why I'm unwilling to pay for any further dates with any woman. Like, I don't want to be picking up the tab. Now, this is the mentality that I genuinely think there's a problem with here. Because in the first place, that's what I'm saying. It's not showing the desire.
That exposes his character.
Yeah.
Because he's making the assumption that Sandra is out to take advantage of him. So why do you want to date me then? Why do you want to take me out?
Why?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Why? What's the point? You know, and like you said, Veronica, what does the Bible say about the role of a man? Like, if Christ can die for the church,
husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church.
Okay, so until you're married, that quotation doesn't apply to you in any way.
But it does, because how are you going to demonstrate to someone that you want to make your wife that you can be their husband if you're not treating them like that before?
The same Bible, I'm sure, as somewhere, Veronica, also does not support, this whole relationship thing that we do before getting married.
I think it depends, because it doesn't say you can't do it. It talks about sexuality, but that's not the only aspect of or facet of a relationship that you can have someone.
Yeah.
I don't believe that, because otherwise we're talking about, we might as well just go into arranged marriage then. If you're saying that we can't have any kind of relationship before you get to the altar. And to me, that one don't work, because you need to be able to scope a guy out, and they need to be able to scope you out too, because you could be trashed. And you need to figure out whether the two of you are compatible and whether or not you're actually going to make a feasible marriage. Because ultimately, from a Christian context, once you get married, that's it. You're not supposed to get divorced. So you better make sure it's right in the beginning. So this idea that you can't have any kind of relationship before you get married, that's a fallacy to me. Because how on earth do you figure out that you're compatible and that you're right and that you're going to last if you can't have any kind of relationship before you get married?
It's impossible.
But do you know what, V? I'm going to ask you to pick this up with our listeners, because I feel like a lot of people in the church, right? I'm sorry to our listeners, but I'm going to bring this back to the religious context. A lot of people in the church use it as an excuse, right, for young women and men to mix and go out on dates. They always say they want to bring this whole thing is, oh, you got to meet someone in the church, because they assume that, it'll be what they call a decent union, right? So, but that is a complete, I feel like that's just, excuse my language, bull. Like, where in the Bible, or does it say that in the Bible, Veronica, where in the Bible does it say that a man and a woman cannot get to know each other?
It doesn't. And that's why I'm saying a lot of these things, these ideas and concepts that come up in the church, a lot of them are man-made.
Yeah.
Not even spiritually based. And that's why I felt I had to say, no, actually, where does it doesn't say that. It says you can't have sexual relations with someone. And that's something entirely different, in my opinion. Because you can have sex with
do that without being in a relationship.
And not be in a relationship with them. So that's not even what it's talking about. And I don't believe I'm not someone who comes from a culture that says, your parents will select your spouse for you and then you're just married. Like, that's not. So to me, the whole idea of not getting to know someone, that's crazy. That's crazy in my book.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And in the church culture that I came up in, I think back in the day, it was almost like, I wouldn't say it was strictly an arranged marriage, but it might as well have been one, because it was a case of the guy sees a woman in the church and decides that he likes her, and he'll go and talk to the pastor and say, I like this girl. The pastor will go to the girl's parents and say, this guy likes your daughter, can they get married? Then all of a sudden they announce an engagement, and like 3 months later they're married. And they know
You're kidding? Is that how it was?
Dating was not allowed, because that leads to sin in their interpretation of things, which is what I don't agree with it. But it's just, I don't subscribe to that.
That is wild.
It's crazy. Even now, I mean, it's not like that anymore that I know of. Like, a lot of the couples that are getting married more recently will date each other, and they probably just keep it quiet that they're dating each other. But obviously, they don't want to get married to someone they don't know. Because otherwise,
To be honest,
people can jump up and say, "Oh yeah, the Spirit of the Lord told me that you're supposed to be my wife," and you naive
Yeah.
single girl who knows
unless the Lord
nothing
told
about
you
men or
himself.
dating, it's like, "Oh my God, God has spoken. I'm supposed to be his wife," and then you end up in some rubbishy.
But there are some churches
exactly.
in Ghana actually that
Yeah,
if they should get, a hook of and more hint of whether you're actually dating or having anything to do, or even anybody should come and tell them that you are going into this man's house
hmm
before you get married. They won't allow you to get married. They won't even accept your marriage because once you tell the church that you are interested in this person, you are given some days to do whatever it is. And if they should find out for whatever reason that you've been to the man's house before, they won't bless the marriage.
Are
that's
you
crazy.
serious?
Pentecost, yeah.
That's mad. But V, so the church that you go to, what is their view on the fact that, you're not married? Are they
The church I go to now.
what is their opinion on it?
I think they're a lot more forward thinking and a lot more liberal about stuff like that in general. So it's fine if you want to date people. Obviously, they expect you to be dating someone who's on the same page as you in terms of your spirituality and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't advocate for having sex outside of marriage and obvious things like that within a Christian context. But obviously, you can date and you can get to know each other. They encourage you to go, if you're deciding that you want to get married, they encourage you to go to stuff like marriage counseling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any pressure in terms of like a time frame. You must be married by this time. Like, it's not like that at all. That's not the vibe I get. But then, to be fair, I feel like the church that I'm in now is a lot less personal. They don't have a lot of involvement in the individual's life because the church is so big. There's so many of us there. The congregation is just so big. It's not possible for them to be in your business like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they teach in a general way, these are the values that we promote, these are what we believe, and we would encourage you to follow them as well. But I don't think there's any pressure as such to do things in a specific way. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
If you could go back and advise your younger self, what would you say to your younger self, like in your 20s, in terms of relationships and?
Oh, that's a hard one. I wish I would have listened less to the messaging I was receiving at the time from various people. And I wish I would have had more of my own mind about certain things that I was being taught. I mean, I think it's just down to experience, and I don't know if I could go back and talk to my younger self if my younger self would have listened, because my mindset then was very different to how it is now. But I wish that I had more confidence to question what I was being told. So I would tell myself, if you hear something at church, or if you hear an influential adult in your life say to you X, Y, and Z, I would encourage you to question it instead of just blindly accepting what's being said. And when it comes to the relationship thing, find a way to be more confident than you are, because I think a lot of the issues I had, it wasn't even just what I was being told in terms of what I was allowed to do. Allowed, I say, in terms of dating. But I think who I was then, I didn't even believe that I was attractive to guys. So in my mind, it was like, I'm being a good girl, but no one wants me anyway. So I wish I wish there was something I could say to my younger self that would have changed that. But I don't know if I could, because where my mind was, that's just what I thought.
It was so different, yeah.
Yeah. And even to a degree, even now, I still struggle with that. But at least I'm aware of it.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know, because I didn't have enough experiences then. Like, there was the odd person who showed an interest, and then for whatever reason I was rejected by them, and it just kind of felt like, well, we weren't in a relationship anyway, so.
But it's hard though, because once you get that rejection, it's sort of hard to pick yourself up.
Yeah.
But it will get better. It will, always say, yeah, you just have to meet the right person.
40 years around the corner, and it still hasn't happened, so. And
don't say that. 40 years around the corner.
It's facts, isn't it? It is what it is. And the thing is, I know people in my previous church who grew up in the same way, and they're still single, and they're in their 40s and 50s, and they've never been with anyone.
But then do you know what? It makes me so angry at that church.
Yeah.
Because they've done this to these people.
Yeah. And
it just kills me how they can just provide such a false perception of what relationships.
And it doesn't affect the men at all, because all the guys are married.
Oh, that's horrid.
So it's just like, what happens here? You've got a church that's like 60, 70% women and 30% men, and the men are either old or married or both. And then you've got these young girls who are coming up in their 30s and 40s, and they've got no one to marry, and they're still looking around inside the church to be,
because they've created this false perception.
Yeah. And it's like, well, anyone outside of the church is bad for you because they're not in the church. And then even when you're in the church, you have to be very specific about who you. It's just very, I don't know. And
but do men in the church marry women from the church, or they mostly marry women out of the church?
They'll marry women from like other churches. So in this particular assembly, you've got a collection of single women and single men that have all grown up together. And when the men decide, oh, I want to get married, they'll go pick someone else that's not even in their own congregation.
Yeah.
Because these congregations are like really small. I'm talking about less than 50 people. And yeah.
So what about you, Sandra?
I think I would give my younger self the advice that, like, don't settle, like, don't feel pressured, because marriage is a lifelong commitment and you need to be going into it with someone that you think you can stay in it with. Yeah. I think marriage is a very beautiful thing, but I think that it can go horribly wrong when people are too hasty, when people are doing it for the wrong reason, when people are in a hurry, when people feel unnecessarily pressured to do it, when people are ill prepared, when people are doing it because they have impregnated someone, when people are doing it because they just want to have their turn. And I think that honestly, it's better to marry right than to marry wrong and have to live with the consequences of that, honestly. So, and to be honest with you, it's my advice to any woman, like, even if you want to get married and you're like 25, I really think that you need to be sure of the person that you're settling with. And I think that sometimes with age comes maturity, and that maturity is what makes you a good partner. I think a lot of very young couples out there, they haven't lived yet. So I don't think they really know what a good partner is. And so, that's my advice to my younger self. Don't be
I completely agree with you. I feel like there's so many pressures we ladies have to deal with from society. I can't even just say we ladies, because I know some men deal with this. And, sometimes we lose track or we lose focus of what's important. And, I think you need to put yourself first, really. I think sometimes you just have to put what people want aside, what family want, what friends want, what parents want, and just look out for you, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going into that marriage, and I don't think age should determine anything. We all, when we're young, when I was much younger, I always thought I've been married younger, but life doesn't. A lot of women I meet always say they have this dream that I've been married by 25. That's what they all say, right? I'm married 25, have 2.5 kids, live in a gated house, but life doesn't always pan out like that. And I think that as humans, we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves. We shouldn't compare ourselves to anyone else. We shouldn't be too hard on ourselves. And the world has definitely changed from our parents' generation. So that's it, folks. Asantseba, any words of wisdom?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, from where I sit, I feel like marriage shouldn't be the ordeal that, so I feel like marriage doesn't define you as a woman anymore like it used to be in the past. So if for whatever reason, like what Veronica said, because she's selfish, I like that you're selfish. I like that you want to put yourself first. I mean, hey, it's good to be selfish because you need to love yourself first. You need to come in terms with that first before you can allow another person into your space. It's not like an easy thing to do. So I feel we women times at a certain age feel like we are less of a woman because we are not married, because we don't have a man, to call our own. We feel like everything is upside down. But I think good things happen to those who wait, and everything comes at the right time. Even if it's yours, it will stay. No pressure.
Yeah, I saw this quote, I think on social media that said that I know what is mine won't pass me.
Yeah.
Like,
So I just feel it's just a matter of time. But until then, Sandra, we'll keep dating till we find them.
You are so funny. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Veronica and Sandra for actually taking the time out and coming on to talk about their experiences and, and to share their stories with us today. So thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Remember what we say at Asantseba, get in touch, get involved. Follow us on Instagram, catch us up on YouTube, leave us comments. We're on Twitter. Just let us know what you're thinking and how you're feeling about this conversation and any other conversation you would like us to have, right, Asantseba?
Yeah. And I've been getting these messages coming in, like people who want to be like randomly be called on to join in. If you feel like there's a particular topic you want us to talk about, like what Ama said, and you don't want to be the main guest, but you just want to be called in, just let us know. Drop us a message, and then we'll find a way to work around it.
Perfect.
All right.
You heard it right. Okay, guys, take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.